Well, Pornhub and ILO is back in the news again this week, as it looks like we're going to get another content purge,
Really?
as we did in the past. So there's a lot of adult material that is on Pornhub, and their other sites will be disappearing as ILO is ramping up new performer verifications, which was expected on there. And basically, it's a purge search also for anything that is unsettling, that and also maybe illegal, which that's what they're supposed to be doing, which other social media platforms haven't been doing that much onto there. Considering that New York Times Nicholas Kristof has done another op-ed condemning Pornhub once again without any verification or proper proof, as they would say, of the situation or the receipts. But before we start with this, once again, I just want to remind you to comment, like, share, and hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. We're just starting out the summer of Mad Men and with the show, our summer edition on there. But don't worry, we're not going to be reducing content. Actually, we're going to be increasing back. Normally, at this time of the year in the summer, we do reduce our content a little bit because our viewership is a little low. So we just stay to the basics, but we're ramping back up again for this summer as we're returning back to a full schedule. So remember, comment, like, share, and subscribe. So, out of adult video news, ILO to remove all unverified Pornhub content by June 30th.
Well, bye.
ILO, the parent company of AdultToom website Pornhub.com, is set to remove all remaining content from the platforms that is unverified by the end of June. Legal News Wires Services MLex.com reports. MLex reporter Julia Tarr indicates that Pornhub, which classified under the European Union Sweeping Digital Service Act as a very large online platform, or VLOP, is set to purge all uploaded content that lacks performer identification and consent declarations by June 30th. This could be the largest content purge on the platform since December 2020, which saw 80% of its content deleted due to a New York Times investigative columnist written by controversial journalist Nicholas Kristof. Kristof published a follow-up column last week relying on outdated materials to push arguments that ILO's attempt to be more compliant and transparent are disingenuous. This new purge will not only prove otherwise, but has been in the works since long before Kristof's latest piece. A spokesperson for ILO confirmed that the company has been communicating since January 2024 with all adult content creators and producers who upload content to its platforms that they must have all consent and identification documentations filed for any such content. It is a requirement. June 30th is the deadline for compliance, or content will be removed and or deactivated until compliance is met. Older videos that do not meet our current verification requirements will be removed from the platform by June 30th, 2025, reads a March post on Pornhub's blog. To facilitate this process, in addition to the existing options for adding and verifying co-performance, we are also working on enhancement to our collaborators features that will allow you to tag verified models in previous uploaded content. AVN reported in 2024 on ILO's introduction of the collaborators features. To use tagging and performer verification, creators must opt into collaborators and accept requests from other verified creators. New policies include the requirements to upload a release form for all co-performers who don't already have one on file, or complete a verification process through a digital use e-sign. Missing IDs and proof of consent delays new videos releases and could affect monthly payouts. Well, this is what the adult industry does. This is what has always been for many years. Some of these sites, they're just beefing up what they can and their protections to the nature of the beast itself. There's always been criticism of the porn industry, and there's always been a situation that someone always tries to get around to the point on there with fake IDs and all this, and a lot of these companies try to do the best they can on there. And this is the same thing with the other social media centers when it comes to, and not only, when it goes to YouTube and all the others as well. But, there's a point where basically you turn a blind eye, but that is not these sites itself until you bring proof to the table onto that point. If someone itself, and this is from the lawsuits, when you hear the lawsuits to these situations, that basically their boyfriend uploaded the content. So basically he's giving, if this was the verification and he's verifying the situation and most of it's probably false, he should be responsible for that situation, not the company itself. If the company did the best they can to handle the identification processes and stuff like that, but this particular person uploaded it illegally, it's going to happen. There will be those who are going to put the situation. But a lot of people want these laws, and it's just basically trying to shut down the adult industry, and if they become successful, they'll move on. They're going after anime, manga. They're going after the R-rated movies. They're going after a lot of content out there. This is a freedom of speech situation, and most people say, no, porn's not freedom of speech. Well, in a way, it is, because basically, if you're shutting down one point of entertainment, you're going to go there and then start going after the rest. Yes, it becomes to that point. We already fought before to get rid of things like the Hays Code in the past in Hollywood. And now it's rearing its dark ears back again and horns back at us again. Because basically, you have studios, these activists that are in there. Oh, we have to have this and we have to have that and stuff like that. A lot of it violates the law. And I'm surprised no one has brought up the Supreme Court decisions on the Hays Code. Because that's what it is. If you're telling a studio you have to have this particular minority or handicap or something like that, that violates, job laws. Basically workplace verification laws, workplace. You're not hired because of the color of your skin or your handicap. You are hired by your merits, and that's the way it is. And that's what that's what's happening now. And I say Hays Code 2.0. But when it comes to the adult industry is the red herring to the point that they want to go after everything. They're going after porn. They're going after gaming. They're going after comic book. I mean, the Comic Books Defense Fund has just listed now recently that, they're also monitoring the situation with the Texas law as well, because it would affect them as well in their product, and the Comic Book Defense Fund, they have fought many a times. The comic book industry was under siege at one point, that they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that on there, they couldn't put nudity, they couldn't put, heavy violence and all that, but that all changed. But now activists got into the comic book industry and destroyed it.
Left-wing activists, they say, nice hobby that you have. It's a little bit sexist, don't you think? Maybe you better let us in to fix it.
That's why the manga industry is doing, phenomenal business, because basically they have not been, subjugated by those who just really don't know the industry itself, that they just want to destroy it from within. And that's what has been happening. We're hearing stuff, the Sweet Baby Inc. situation and many others that we know money has been funneled in by government itself to take over the industries. That is what is going on in the industry itself. You have those who are in government And I'm not talking about the current one right now. We're talking previous. We're talking about those who are on the radical left, the radical right, that basically just want to destroy the industry and reform it with controls, similar out of films, like 1984 and Fahrenheit 451 and many other films out there that you've seen censorship. You don't have to watch porn. Nobody is forcing you to watch porn. It's the same thing that, Howard Stern said many years ago. It's like, if you don't like my show, turn it off. You want to hear something funny part? Is people who basically, one of his highest viewers and listeners to the Howard Stern show were people who hated him. Why? To that point. But you look at today, there are people that say, well, I don't want everybody else. Well, mind your business. Stay out of people's business. Stay out of what they're watching at home. I mean, the laws that they're trying to push is that you can't even watch it in your own home, that they're going to start looking at what is in your own library. Think about that for a minute. And you say, no, it could never happen. Ask the people in the United Kingdom how many people have been arrested for the police to show up in their home and look at what is on their bookshelf. Tell me that is not happening. It is. And it angers me to see this shit comes on. And when you have people just like the freaking Nicholas Kristof writing these ridiculous stories, unconfounded stories about the adult industry. And this is what's happening. We have a story this week. Hollywood is moving eastward. And I'm not talking Georgia and Florida. I'm talking about New York and New Jersey. There's new studios opening up because basically these studios are tired of dealing with Hollywood, California itself. So they're moving eastward. Things are changing, hopefully for the better. Hopefully we'll get better productions on there. Right now in New Jersey, there are 7 productions by Netflix running concurrently right now that are being filmed. Things are changing, even in the adult industry. They are increasing. There are new studios that are opening up. The series Hentai and Parasite are opening up another studio. I think it's a vampire one. It's like a porn vampire series. Which, the horror genre in the porn industry has been very popular as of late. So porn is not going anywhere. Because they're fighting. They are fighting. And many others are with them. The Comic Book Defense Fund, the ACLU, you have the Free Speech Coalition. You have many others that have got onto that. The anime and manga industry also. Because this is all circling around to the same direction. Obscenity laws. And I've talked about this many times. Obscenity laws is the situation that they basically, people like Senator Mike Lee, they want to change back prior to the 1970s. And what's that going to do? People are going to get arrested again. Just like Carlin and Lenny Bruce and many others that have been arrested just because someone did not like the product or the comedic act that they're doing or the book that they wrote or the movie they made. Is that the American way? No. We have the Constitution, and that's what's keeping us going. We are the last bastion in this world when it comes to freedoms. The rest of the world is pretty much have fallen. And there are those who are fighting in between. Smaller countries are trying to fight, for their constitutional rights as well, for their freedom of speech, for stuff that they want to watch on television, that it's not being blocked, or for product that they want to purchase. You can't purchase this here because we don't like it. This is what's happening. But now what's happening, I want you to comment. Let me know your thoughts about this. I don't like content to be purged, but if it's not verified, yes, it needs to be verified, obviously on there. That's something on there. And, ILO is doing the best they can, try to keep Pornhub running and all their other divisions going, in between the lawsuits that are happening. So comment, like, share, and hit that subscribe button. Please do hit that subscribe on there. We really do appreciate it. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye now.